One day you're a star god, the next day you're just working for the man.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Barrett from SpikyBits.com, and today we are going to unbox and build the Satan Shard of the Void Dragon. I guess it's technically the fourth Satan if you count the Transcended Satan that came with the Tesseract Vault, that big super monolith floaty kit from way back in the day. Well, I guess it wasn't that far back. Maybe 2013, 2012, which was basically back in the day for maybe a lot of y'all that are tuning in today. But either way, this is probably the coolest looking of them all. Although if you asked me back in 2003, I would definitely tell you the Nightbringer was the coolest looking of them all. But there he is right there. You get an idea. A couple of different variant heads, it looks like. Now, this kit is $110 on release day. Of course, don't forget, you can always get your hobbies for less at dicehead.com or Amazon, or hopefully a local game store that can, always discount up to at least 15%. So it's kind of a small box here, and obviously you heard the price a minute ago, right? So there's a lot of questions about the pricing on this. There's been a lot of questions about GW pricing in general, right? In 2020, I think. But this one is kind of puzzling in and of itself. So it's instruction manual, one sprue, which is technically two smaller squad size sprues that you would get out of a normal squad size box, and an 80mm round bevel base, which you've seen some of these other kits that we're going to compare. We're going to put it together and compare the size to, like the Doomstalker right here, and then of course the Silent King Sazerac. This being $170. I don't even remember anymore. It's so crazy on some of the prices. Oh no, he was $150, and this one right here is only $40. Now this was a lot of sprues, whereas this one is not quite so many, and this is just basically two, and it's $110. So it's very confusing. I think it definitely lends itself, and we'll talk about this. Well, actually, let's just get into it right now. So we'll talk about it right now. I think this lends itself to how GW prices their things. Like they price it on on forecasting, like business stuff, like, hey, how many do we think we can sell? Oh, well, most people are going to take one, price point of this kit, multiply by previous sales, etc. Okay, they spit out this number, which happens to be the same number as the Age of Sigmar Eidolon kit, which is of a similar size, and also one of those deals most people wouldn't take multiples of it, right? But then when you start looking around at some of the other kits, like the Doomstalker, the guy we got right here, which is probably about a very similar height, and you look at what comes in that kit, like you get one sprue, two sprues, so you almost get as many sprues for $40, right? So you're like, but people would take multiples of these for sure, probably, right? I would think you would sell, if I was Games Workshop, I would forecast to sell way more of these than I would of the Void Dragon. And then you've got the Warriors, and this is a curious kit because we talked about this in Indominus. Go look at our Indominus unboxing. I was like, hey, you know what? I don't know if they're gonna make a multi-part kit of this, because the actual push fit one that came in Indominus is the same exact thing, just rebox, is literally perfect. Like, they have all the variants, they have different heads, they have different options. It was really the first time in recent memory we had seen a multi-part kit that came in basically ETB format, right? So then when I got thinking about it, I actually expected this to be $60, but it turned out to be $45, which is respectable. But then again, GW probably looked at it like, hey, how many of these are we really going to sell? Because you get two of these in the Indominus box, you get one of these in the Command Edition, and so on and so forth, and they trickle down through all the variants. But look at this. This is the same amount of sprue. Now, I would argue that it might be actually more plastic than the Satan right here. That's 110, right? Look at all that open area, and then you look at this, $45, but more people are going to buy this sprue than this sprue, or this kit, because you need a bunch of these for your army. Well, maybe a ninth you don't quite, because you can kind of toggle your detachments a little bit more, but it's just something to think about, when you start looking at these prices. And I agree, everybody always has something to say about the prices, and I do too, but I like to kind of dig in and be like, all right, well, why is it this way? And that's really the only reason I can see these prices being the way they are, is forecasting and predicting what the demand for a product and what the lifetime sales of said product are going to be. And that's basically it. All right, well, that's enough business talk. I always get lollygagging about the business, but I think at the end of the day, it's good to kind of focus on the business part because, well, it's not going to change. GW is incredibly successful, so there's no reason for them to change. So the Shard of the Void Dragon right here, let's open it up and take a look-see. So there's our sprues, there's our 80mm base right there, which is, I think a lot of dreadnoughts and stuff are using that now. I actually remember. I know it was kind of infrequent, but now we're seeing it on more and more things. Two different options here for the head armor, the top armor. And it looks like this one is not keyed. So there's a swirly too, if you want to go with the swirly. Or this actually has that part attached to it. So there's technically 3 options. So you can do the little Star God swirly, the Necron tier, Triarch, I guess that's what that symbol is that goes in there. And I really like how it kind of forms that false depth, like that void, that empty negative space that they kind of use as a tool. I like that. So starting at the top, it looks like, well, right off the bat, we got squigglies. Like, I was hoping, you know, I looked at this, y'all probably remember my Silent King unboxing and assembly that took 6 hours. I was really hoping that this would be a lot easier, but I'm looking at this and I'm just like, huh, this is scary. This is scary. Maybe I have a little hobby reflux from that kit, but this is scary seeing this first. But let's look at it. So it looks like his hand. Is this his heart? No, it's a little glowy thing in his left hand. That actually looks like it locks in okay, so I'm okay with that. And then that assembly locks into the back of the right arm. Okay, and I like this. I like this how they give you, hey, this is how you do it, but hey, check it out. This is how to orientate yourself. So if you're like, I don't get it, and then you look here like, oh, okay, I see. Cool. So I like that. And then it looks like parts of the front, the chest area here, but the legs aren't on yet. Choose a head, choose your own adventure right there. Here's the legs. Okay, so top and right half. Ka-chunk. All right, and then the other leg goes into here, but also attaches up here somehow. And then the Star God Spear, that's cool. That's all one piece. All right, and creepy little stabby Necron. The base. Oh, see, I love this. So like, if you gave that to me as instructions, I'd be like, what the heck? And then I'd take all those parts if I didn't separate them by number, because then if you do, you automatically know how they go together. But if I didn't separate them by number, I'd be really mad right now, which, let's face it, I'm not going to separate them by number. I'll just clip them all out and then be stupid when I get the instructions. But you should. Don't be a stupid like me. But this is cool because they give you the top down, which is super helpful, because that's a lot easier to navigate than that. So kudos to GW. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I really am. Okay, so now we're starting to build up that crazy energy lattice work. So it looks like this energy and some rocks, and they're using the rocks to kind of support everything and lock everything in. So it looks like this is a left and a right half, and it goes together right there. And then these large chunky bits get slotted into here, but this, okay, so this needs to, see, this is what I don't like though. So this was great, but then what I feel like they need to do is put an arrow, a motion arrow here, because you've got, when I'm building this, and this is a great habit to get into, you just follow along with the orientation. So now I have my base and I have it orientated. All right, cool. So it's like this. But then I get down to here and this is turned. So this right here is actually the top. So what I feel like maybe would have been super helpful is if they put an arrow here, hey, turn it. So now you know, okay, I got to orientate, because not only are you trying to figure out where these chongos go, but also you have this laid out like this, and it has to actually be counterclockwise 180 degrees. So that could be a little confusing. I would have liked to see better notes there for that, but now that I look at it, I'm like, okay, cool, I can knock that out. More lattice work over here. It looks like more of the big chunky rocks getting glued together. And then, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. So so they got the ability to do arrows, so I like that. So let's get some arrows on rotations here, guys. So this is where everything kind of goes together and the webbing starts to form. So this surface is locking into this big rock, but then this top is going here, and then this top is going over here. So this is starting to form that craziness. And then once you get that locked in together, see, they did it again. They flipped, they turned, and then they turned again, and then they turned again. So they really should notate that, hey, we're turning the base to put this stuff in here, because they leave you here. See, this is the back. So this right here is now, that's the front. So they turned another almost 360 clockwise. Well, maybe not 360. So that can be confusing right there. Like there should be some, hey, we turned it this much. Hey, we turned it this much. And then they actually turned it again right here. Because now that is back to here, almost where we started, but a little bit more turned here. So it's a little bit confusing. You just kind of have to match up your landmarks, like this big brick right here, or this like little piece. But it looks like they all lock together. So this was that lattice work, which is right there in blue. But then okay, so I see what's happening here. So you've got this locked in, and now you're bridging the gap between the two frames. So you're actually going across the base with this. And then right here, you're just kind of starting to lock it all together. And this crazy little pincer tail that's going to probably hook up to that little dude that's chilling around the neck. And I like this where they show you how it should all look now. So that piece into there is right there, and then this into here. So now you've created the full 360, and I'm sure if they showed you a top down at this point, you would see where the lattice, it was basically all in a circle, like kind of interconnected. It may be something shooting across like this piece right here. Okay, this is really intense, but it looks complicated, but I think if you don't lose your bearings that you'll be okay, because these don't look like complicated builds. Like the pieces are big and chunky, and I like that, and they look like they lock in. It's just you could easily lose your place on this map, on this rotation. So just take it slow and kind of mark your place maybe, and just use those landmarks, because you get down to here, and this is cool. We've kept the same orientation, right? And then now you're like, okay, Star God time. So now the lattice work around him actually locks into the high point, this point right here that you just glued on, and this other point right here for the spine. So now 1, 2, actually 4, there's a place in the front too that's going to lock into. So this is going to interconnect on all that lattice work, basically a 360 of lattice work, to kind of give it that strength and that rigidity, I hope. And then you flip it around to the back, which again, they should show you a rotation, but that's okay. You know this is the back. That's not too confusing, I don't feel like. Wings lock into these spots. It looks like there's a slot right there. So this is actually, hold up. Okay, this is poorly done here, but I get what they're saying. I think it's a mistake on their part. Like this slot should be right there in that seam. So that arrow actually is incorrect. That arrow is saying attach it to the wing, which I seriously doubt, because it has to square up behind his neck, and being that slot right there, I can already tell that's probably where that goes. So I feel like that's a mistake. Let me find my pen. And that, watch me be completely wrong once I get this together. I'm thinking this goes right here. So I think that goes right there. And then these round pieces and this surface locks in here, and then I bet there's some sort of nub or something that locks into right here. Oh, that's exactly what it is. Okay, so they're not saying that this piece, this surface goes into here. They're saying that there's something on the side that you can't see that actually locks into the wings. But they should have, since they marked this yellow, they should have still put the arrow up to there, which I think they just forgot. So that actually makes more sense. And then there's a surface back here where it looks like the spine connects. Okay, cool. And then they give you, hey, this is how it should look. Yep, see, that squares up. And then that's pretty square around there, I'm gonna bet. Okay, well, way too much time on that, but you kind of get what's going on. So I feel like, bold prediction, because I'm about to tell you exactly how hard it was in the next frame, which will probably be just a few seconds for you, but obviously minutes, hopefully not hours for me. That this seems like an easy build, just don't get confused by rotating the base. Well, maybe we should look at the sprues first. I got so worked up talking about the instructions, we didn't actually look at the sprues. So here is the right or left half, whichever you want to choose it to be, of the Star God sprue, and you can kind of see the wings are kind of flayed out right there. Now, is this the new easier to build-ish? You're gonna have some flash because anything that's on this plane is gonna have to get trimmed down on flash, and unfortunately that means all these spines and these wings, oof, and this wing over here. But some of this other stuff, some of this like lattice work and things, probably not so much. But unfortunately, that's probably going to be a little bit more work than I would say. This is just a standard multi-part kit minus the stuff on the bases, which you won't have to. You'll just clip those out and glue them down. There's that spear. That's pretty cool. That's nice and chunky. Parts of the leg, the back. Anything else I can pick out? Not really. Over, I think that's the starting piece. Gave me a little trepidation there a minute ago. So nothing too crazy, but the details, let's see. Details super nice. I mean, super nice and crisp. So I'm digging that. It's gonna hopefully come together very well next frame. Okay, so we got them together. I'm just gonna leave them down here. We'll take a look at details here in a second. He went together actually pretty well. It probably took longer to clip out all those pieces and deflash them where possible. There wasn't as much flash as I thought around it, which was really cool. This model, I mean, it's tall, but it is about the same size as the Eidolon from the Idoneth Deepkin from Sigmar. But let's see how he compares to the other 80mm monstrosity. So he is, man, roughly up to the head about the same as the Doomstalker, and Sazerac and his floaty disco stage is, let's see, that is not a 1, that is not a 80. So he is about as tall. That's crazy. So 150, 110. Obviously the other one's 40, and and then there's this little guy right here. How'd you like to be this guy? I mean, this must be how the guardsmen feel. How'd you like to be this guy, just like trotting along, and you got this big four-legged walker, ka-chunk, 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 and then you got like the Silent King just like hovers over you and is like, so tiny. So this kit here was interesting. Now there's something I want to show you in the build that also was not right and that I didn't notice, which I guess I wouldn't have probably noticed. This was near impossible to try to figure out. So when they tell you to put this first leg in here, don't do it this way. Take this leg, glue it to the other leg, and then you can use the other leg as a guide and support to kind of glue it all together, because where it attaches here, it's really hard to see and they don't do a good job showing you right here. So just attach it and then attach it together, the legs together, and then lock it in up there as a guide and support. And that definitely super helped. I probably spent most of my time trying to figure that part out than anything else. All of the lattice work, and let's zoom in a little bit. All the lattice work went together splendid. Just the key, like I said, is keeping your bearings on this base here. And I used a little bit of the normal glue on the base, but pretty much everything else was a super thin Tamiya cement that I used literally on everything to kind of, keep the seams together and keep things from showing. Like, you don't really see any gap works on the legs or anything right there, because it all is very well held together by the way they designed the kit. And even back here where these two tails attach, you can't even really tell because it's, well, you can tell because the wire stops right there, so it's right there. But you couldn't normally tell unless I just told you that, because the seam work is so well, and when you use that super thin glue, it really kind of covers up any gaps or anything in it besides the natural design work. So, I really like the design of this model, and the assembly time was very respectful. I feel like, as opposed to, of course, the Silent King over here. But I like the Silent King's kit too. I liked how it went together up until the point where you had to do the occupants, the Silent King and everybody else there. Unfortunately, that was just a little over the top, and I feel like it could have been done a little better. So it's good to see that they got this one straight, and this one's really good. So I like this. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see a lot of multiples in the army. He's an elite choice of all things, so that's crazy. You're already kind of locked into some other good competition on the elite side of things, but definitely will give you a lot of opportunity to get some really nice paint jobs in here. You know, all the glowy effects in here and all those binary bits that are super squared off. You know, you can really edge highlight all that in the glow and things with the airbrush, or you know, just if you want to do a lot of dry brushing and stuff. But I feel like an airbrush would save you so much time on this. It's very ridiculous. Although you could use a lot of contrast paint on all this, and these things down here too. So I guess it's some of column A, some of column B on this one right here. So overall, I like the kit. Still don't quite understand the pricing schema as much, but it's starting to make more sense as you start looking at, oh, okay, forecasting and other business stuff that we discussed earlier. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unboxing build of the brand new Satan Shard of the Void Dragon this week. One of this week's big releases. We still got the monolith to do, so stay tuned for that one. Don't forget, you can always get your hobbies for less from dicehead.com, Amazon, or of course your local game store. And before you run over there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.